Welcome. This is Talking Therapy, my YouTube series where I'm unpacking my life into different episodes with the hope of getting a greater understanding of who I am and why I am the way I am. And I think this process has been really important for me because without actually sitting down to reflect about my upbringing and my childhood, I wouldn't really be able to articulate certain feelings and emotions that have been with me for as long as I can remember. One of those being anxiety. I've always been an anxious, for as long as I could remember, I've been an anxious and nervous person, but I always felt as though I did a good job of hiding that. You know, when you live in a typical Nigerian house, you're not a stranger to a beating. So as much as I love my mum, you can't help but be fearful or jumpy around someone that can beat you at any time for misbehaving. Because me and my sister are essentially British children and my mum's Nigerian, and her expectations of what we were supposed to behave like and the things that we were supposed to do and all of the customs, I was always getting them wrong. You know, you could go to a party or a function and you could see an uncle and not greet them in the right way, get a slap. The washing up isn't done properly, get a slap. You haven't tidied up your room, get a slap. It's like, in my third house, I remember when there were two locks, and when you would hear the key go into the top lock, you had about 5 or 10 seconds to turn off the television, run upstairs before the second lock opened and my mum or stepdad would come home. So always like I was on edge and my heart would be racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and that was just normal, you know, in my house. Outside of that, the area that we lived, I'd been racially attacked, and I was always aware of or conscious of the fact that I could be a victim of racism at any time in the area that I lived. Now I've dealt with all of that, I've got into college and I'm now going to a college in a black area. I'm now fearful of gang violence and being targeted because I'm from a certain area, or, you know, just looking like I'm in a gang. And these are the things that just become normal and everyday part of being a young black Nigerian child living in London. I don't think my experience is unique to anyone. But amongst the backdrop of all of this, I've now got into college, and there's three things that are taking my anxiety to a different level. So it's my first day of college, and the simple decision of what I'm going to wear is filled with all of these complexities and different types of layers, because you want to look nice, you want to look cool, you want to look attractive to any girls, because at that time I've been in an all-boys school, so I haven't actually been in a classroom with girls before, so I want to make sure I'm looking my best. At the same time, I have to be conscious of the fact that just by dressing like a normal urban kid from the area that I'm from, I could easily be associated with being in a gang, targeted by police and all of this type of stuff. So what I'm going to wear is now a tough decision. But I've now picked out my outfit. I've got a grey tracksuit, my black New Era cap, I've got combed my little afro out of the sides of the hat. I had a little silver chain that I would put underneath my top. And if I felt comfortable in the area that I was in, I would take it out and let the bling shine, you know what I mean? But then the moment I would get into an area that was a bit more dodgy, I'll tuck that straight back in to make sure that I was, as much as possible, not bringing any attention to myself. So I've navigated all of this and I've got to college. I've got to the main gates and I'm seeing all of the groups of boys, and I'm assuming that they're all from Peckham and Deptford and Brockley and New Cross and all of the surrounding areas. But I managed to get through the gates and no one is really making any eye contact with me, and thankfully the registration office is directly to the right, so I've come straight through the security barrier and I turn right, I'm at the office. And then I've got my other, so now that's the first hurdle navigated. The other two were around my registration. Now they were asking about my GCSE grades, and I ticked that I'd got an A to C in maths. And I didn't, I got an E. And I was not confident with mathematics at all. And I was actually so petrified that somehow they was gonna get me to do this course or to do this subject in college. And I was not, I had a real fear of numbers. And I didn't have a good time in my 2 years of doing maths at secondary school. So I wanted to avoid numeracy at all costs. But I knew I was lying when I put that on the registration that I got a grade C. So hopefully I didn't need to resit it, but I was worried that at any time I could get found out, you know, be pulled out of class or be, you know, kicked out again. So they ask on the form if you've been convicted of any crimes unspent. And I knew at the time that I had 5 years of being on this sex offenders register, and until I was 17 years old, it wasn't going to be gone from my record. But I can't say that to college. I can't tell the college the details of my conviction. No one's going to have me after that. So I said that I had no convictions, and I would go through scenarios in my mind and daydream of police turning up at college and pulling me out in handcuffs and being exposed for what I'd done, you know, being exposed for exposing myself, you get me? So I've handed in the documents and I've gone to the first lesson, the introduction, and it was in a big dance studio. I've walked straight into the room, feeling a bit more confident now because I've got rid of that registration form. I've got through the main gates. I'm here now, and it's the first day, and I haven't actually been in like an education scenario on the first day in a long time, you know. So I've walked into the class, and it wasn't a classroom, it was a dance studio, and they had like mirrors across all sides, and that was a bit crazy. I was like, whoa, I haven't been in a room like this before. I've come in, and I think I was literally just on time, or maybe like a minute late, but not late enough for it to be a problem. And I've walked into the room, and straight away I've just sized everyone up, and I could see instantly that I was going to be, that no one here intimidated me. And it's funny that that was my thought pattern about thinking, maybe it's a man thing, but making sure that I felt as though I was going to be the hardest one in the room, you know. And I looked quickly and I couldn't see anyone there, because to be honest, there was a whole range of different people's ages. Like people were like 20s to like 25 and 17. So it was actually a big mix, or broad mix of like boys, girls, and different ethnicities or whatnot. But the important thing for me is that no one was intimidating me on the face of it. And I could now be the alpha male in the room, which was a position that I hadn't really played before, but I knew to myself, as long as no one was intimidating me, I wasn't going to intimidate anyone else, and I was going to have a great time, you know. So we've all sat around in a circle, and the teacher comes in, like, I think she was already in the room, but so I've come in, and the first thing she said within like a few seconds is that everyone should take off their hats and gloves and jackets and shoes and put all of their belongings to the side of the room. And all of a sudden I'm just taking off my hat, and I've got hat hair because I've been, you know, I hadn't imagined that they was going to tell me to take off my hat. My whole image was having my afro coming out of the sides, but now I've taken my hat off and I've got my flat hat hair. I'm little afro coming out of the sides. I'm taking out my phone, I'm taking off my trainers, and all of a sudden being stripped of all of these things that I'd carefully constructed to make me look and feel a certain way. I've now had to shed all of that. And I feel mad naked, like exposed, you know what I mean? Now, we come back into the circle, and the teacher says that, I'm sure anyone that's been in any kind of, you know, job interview or group exercise has been asked this question before, but very simply, you just need to say your name and give an interesting fact about yourself. And I was panicking. She said, we're going to go this way around the room. And the moment she said that, I counted the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm number 8. Oh my God. Boom, 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 boom. I'm feeling like poor. I'm feeling ugly. I'm feeling like, you know, bare and vulnerable. And I'm doing a good job. I think I'm doing a good job of pretending like I'm listening. I'm nodding and smiling along, listening to other people's names and their little fun facts. And I'm just thinking to myself, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? So my turn is getting closer, and my heart is beating. I could feel my breath was like ice cold. And right before it was my turn, I just put my hand up and said, Miss, can I quickly go to the toilet? And she said, yeah, it's all right. So I've come out of the room, and this is my first day in the building. I don't know where I am. I don't know where I'm walking. And I'm just feeling, oh my God, you just need to get somewhere. Sit down, you're going to drop. There was a door right in front of me. So I just pushed straight through the door, and I don't know where I was, but I just dropped, land on the floor, out like a light.